If you have a dog that you feel at any point in time could become dangerous, could bite another dog, could bite a child, could bite another human being, or possibly redirect on you as the handler, I do recommend muzzle conditioning your dog. So we have great muzzle conditioning videos available on our YouTube page, also on our video subscription page for you. But knowing the right kind of muzzle to use is also important. There's a lot of muzzles out there that are really, really unfair to the dog. So I'm going to recommend that you get some type of basket muzzle. A basket muzzle would be one that fits around the muzzle of the dog and allows them to pant. Most of them will often allow the dog to drink and eat through them as well. But some have pros and cons depending on the dog that you have. So some brands that I'm going to recommend to you, this is a Baskerville muzzle, can be good for those lower intensity dogs, okay? A Baskerville muzzle is really valuable in the sense that if you're going to be doing food work or something like that, or you want the dog to be able to eat through it or drink through it, this tends to be the easiest muzzle to work with, okay? But there are some cons to a Baskerville muzzle. And some of the cons is that it's got a lot of gaps here, okay? So if you can imagine that this were teeth of a really intense dog, well, those teeth can still kind of get through, okay? They can't inflict the same kind of bite that they could if they didn't have a muzzle on, because of course they're gonna have this here, but they might still be able to bite through this muzzle. So be careful. If you have a dog that's a really heavy biter, that's really intense, you might not want to be working with a muzzle like this. Also, if you're going to be walking through children or anything like that, you're worried that a child might reach out, little hands and fingers can get through these spots pretty easily. So if you're worried about things like that, this might not be the muzzle for you. But if you are looking for comfort for your dog, being able to eat and drink, your dog's not that intense, this might be a perfect fit for you and probably the most affordable option for you. Another option that you can use here, this is a Jafco muzzle, Jafco. Jafco muzzles are great for a lot of different things. I particularly like them if I want a muzzle that's a little bit more closed off, where fingers can't get through, right? I also like them if I have a dog that's more intense, where they might push through and actually bite through that other muzzle. I like something like this. Jafco muzzles also come with a training muzzle that has a hole in it if you did want to do some feeding work or something like that through it. Another thing I really like about Jafcos, and I do like it even a little bit more than these Baskervilles, is the fact that their straps are made of rubber. So when you strap it up snug, if you have a dog that when they get really reactive tries to pull their muzzle off to bite, you might have dogs that do that, it's much harder to get this muzzle to slip off just because these are rubber and these are more of a nylon. This is a little bit more slippery. In addition to that, when you're wearing a Baskerville, sometimes there's a big gap down here, right? You can see that the muzzle stops here, and sometimes you have this big gap here where dogs can very easily hook their feet and pull that muzzle off. Even sometimes the best of muzzle conditioning can sometimes still have a dog that periodically tries to pull their muzzle. If that's the case and you're dealing with a dog that is potentially going to pull their muzzle off in a stressful situation, you might want to go with something like this. So I don't know if you can see, but with this Jafco muzzle, that muzzle goes all the way back, almost to the end of the jawline. It's much harder for the dog to get their nails under that and to pull this off. So on top of having higher quality straps, you can also have a muzzle that fits better back here, okay? I do tend to find that some dogs require bigger basket muzzles. This is a Dean and Tyler muzzle. There's lots of different companies that make similar muzzles. So as long as you're getting the general shape and idea, that should work for your dog. But this is a Dean and Tyler muzzle. These tend to work really nice for bully breeds. They tend to work really nice for Rottweilers. They tend to work really nice for Cane Corso, Mastiffs, dogs that tend to be heavier hitters, but also tend to have that shorter, more awkward brachycephalic snout. If we are making sure that we have a nice quality muzzle on them, it can give you a lot more confidence while trying to work through this reactivity course. So just be mindful. I do find that bully breeds, Mastiffs, etc. tend to fit in these types a little bit better. Dogs with a little bit longer snouts, German Shepherds, etc. tend to fit in these a little bit better, provided that they're not going to be those real intense biters, okay? And even if your dog is not a biter, but you're worried about a bite, or your worry about what could happen is creating anxiety in you or fear in you as you're working with your dog, I highly recommend muzzle conditioning your dog as you try to work through this course and utilizing that muzzle to give yourself a little bit of confidence to challenge the dog and work through their issues. Because if you're too scared and you're always staying on the sidelines and sidestepping the actual behavioral problems, you're not going to get to the point where you've created a better life with your dog. So if you need a boost of confidence, even if your dog isn't really that bad, you can still go ahead and muzzle and work on that through the training process and then do away with the muzzle when you feel more confident. Okay.